the lunch hour. So this will be sent out afterward if you want to have a look at that, just to the registered folks for the webinar. And yeah, throw your name and your role into the chat. And we usually have a pretty lively, active chat. So we're hoping for that again today. And also, if you are thinking, as Marnie's talking or as I'm speaking or kind of showing a bit of a demo afterward, if you want to let us know if you work as a peer support coordinator or in a team that is kind of housed solely within your own department, which is great. And that's the majority of our groups are like that. So you have your own internal peer team, your own maybe chaplains team, and you just keep that internal. Or if you do work in a regional or county-wide approach or scenario where we know there's a lot of regional system teams, county-wide teams, so we'd like to know because we're finding, and one of the reasons why uh, we asked and Marnie graciously accepted to share her story in this webinar is because we do see that as a bit of a trend lately where more and more groups are working together with other neighboring departments and within their county. And so that is something that the PeerConnect app, shameless plug, does handle really well. And so we've kind of built it to make sure that groups that use the system internally within their own department works really nicely for that. But also, if you want to join with other groups, we have some features that help there. So, as I mentioned, Marnie Smith is with Routt County Crisis Support in Colorado. Some very beautiful area over there in the mountains, has some ski patrol teams and search and rescue teams as part of her group that she oversees. And I will turn it over to you, Marnie.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, you guys, for letting me letting me chit chat. I've promised to watch my language, so I'm gonna keep an eye on that.
We're
Although
all adults here.
okay, that's what Camden said, so but I will be mature today for once. Um, a little bit of background. Nick kind of gave a little bit of an intro. I am a newly retired firefighter paramedic with Steamboat Fire. I had about 20 years starting in wildland fire and then moved into the structural side. And I'll start a little bit with that. I got trained in peer support in 2016. It was still kind of a babyish idea out here. I I remember sitting in class thinking, oh my gosh, this is such a great program. I called a lot of people that I knew in Routt County, other agencies, other paramedics that I knew, and said, this is so great. We got to do this. And I heard a little bit of crickets because I don't think anybody knew what it was at the time. I brought peer support back to Steamboat Fire, where I don't think that the fire service in Routt County was quite ready to jump into the mental health peer support realm. So I partnered with LCSW here in town, Molly Lotz, and she and I decided to try to go countywide with our team. For Routt County, that was really a no-brainer. That was the way to go. We brought law enforcement on. They were all in on the peer support program, so that was exciting. We have now within our county, we oversee sheriff's office, police department, all fire agencies in Routt County, so West Routt, North Routt, South Routt, Yampa, search and rescue, ski patrol, dispatch. They are all we oversee all first responders in Routt County. So we then we then put a team together because part of and I'll get to this in a minute, but part of the reason why we were having a little bit of trouble was it was really just me. I was the coordinator for the team. I still am. But we didn't really have a system in place to how do people reach out for help. Like I said, at the time, it was really me and Molly, and the only way to connect our first responders was to give my cell phone out. And one of the jokes is that my phone number is on all the bathroom walls in Steamboat, which you can laugh or think that's inappropriate, but it's true. And people once people started hearing about what we were doing, they started calling, and it got fairly overwhelming at times that people were reaching out, which is great, reaching out for help. But at that point, it was just my cell phone number that they were calling for help. So Molly and I put a team together. We trained cross uniform, so we have members from most agencies in Routt County as part of our peer support team. And I don't know, and I'm actually really excited for the Q&A or for the chatting part of this, but there were a lot of people on our team that were feeling like they weren't getting reached out to. People weren't reaching out to them for help. They didn't really understand their role in the peer team. So we had to work through that, which then brought in PeerConnect, and I'll get to that too in a second. But that part of it really made it easy for us to link everybody together. But some of the things, and again, I'm super interested to hear how people are tackling some of the problems, but it is making it just so easy for first responders to reach out for help. The ease is important, and the confidentiality piece is what we found were some of the most important things. But to back up just a little bit, and I apologize, this room is getting bigger and bigger, so I'm trying to stay focused with my notes. But in 2010, I started a nonprofit. Really didn't have a lot of guidance in my head as far as what I wanted to do with it. And once the peer support team came on board, it kind of blew up. So Routt County Crisis Support right now oversees the peer support program in Routt County. We also started what I would consider an EAP program. So our peer support team feeds into therapy. We pay for 10 free sessions for first responders in Routt County and their family members. So those programs are married in together. We also started a community crisis response team. This is a group of 20-ish volunteers from the community that we've trained in crisis support. So we get dispatched through Routt County Dispatch, so through our 911 system, to go to a scene. The purpose there was really to take the load off the first responders. So our volunteer team goes in and we take care of the family members, we take care of the bystanders so that the first responders don't have to. It's an awesome program that is also growing within our county and outside of the county. To that point, Nick mentioned I am retired now. So I am now the executive director of Routt County Crisis Support. And really one of the goals that we've had and that I've had is to grow outside of Routt County. I think I really love our model, and I think we do it very well. We're learning, and we don't have all the answers, but we are now growing outside of Routt County. So now we oversee Summit County law enforcement, Moffat County law enforcement, and we're working with Grand County to oversee their first responder agencies through our peer support program. I also was a flight medic for Classic Air Medical, so we're also overseeing Classic Air Medical Intermountain, which is now what they're called in the Colorado bases. So Glenwood Springs and Steamboat, we also oversee their peer teams, or they're part of our peer support team. So we have a lot of growth potential. What I'm finding as a coordinator, and I would assume a lot of you coordinators out there, it's a lot of work to coordinate that many people. My goal this year is to reach 1,000 first responders that we support. That's a lot of coordinating. So thankfully, PeerConnect came into the picture, and I still have my cell phone out there, but what we're creating with these guys over at PeerConnect is just an amazing network that allows me as a coordinator and the ED of the nonprofit to actually be able to connect these agencies. And it is so amazing to be able to have Summit County reach into PeerConnect, and we can help support them quickly. And very easily and confidentially. It's been an amazing program for us, and these guys have been awesome with working and being fluid with our we've had to pivot a few times with that, but I really enjoy working with these guys. And again, they've asked me to talk, so they know that I'll probably drop a few F-bombs here and there, but it has made growth outside of Routt County a lot easier for us. Um, one of the things that one of my goals, and again, I think using my first responder brain and understanding a little bit of first responders, being able to go into these counties and say, hey, you guys, you need to build a peer support team, help them build it. And then bringing in that PeerConnect app has really solidified how much easier it will be for them to build these teams. So I love connecting these agencies. Another goal of mine, I always feel like Camden's going to interrupt me with something that I'm missing. So please, Cam, please shoot me a note if I'm missing something. But one of my other goals is we have existing teams out there within our region. My goal and our goal at RCCS is to join these teams so we're not so fractured. So there are existing teams along the I-70 corridor. My goal is to connect all of us. So when there are situations where there's a loss of a first responder in those agencies have connection. We've already connected them to outside agencies so they can reach out for some support. For example, if we lose a first responder, let's say in Leadville, Colorado, Leadville's peer support team is overwhelmed because they've lost their peer. They can reach out to Routt County and say, hey, we need some help over here. And Routt County peer support team members can go over and support them. Or in Summit County, they can now go over and support Lake County as well. So that's been a big goal of mine, is to create this huge network around the mountain region. My hope is obviously to grow that outside of Colorado even. I think the other thing I'm learning is that, and maybe a lot of people in this room, if you have a big incident within your agency and you really just don't know who to contact, we need help, we need a debrief, we need a diffusing. Who do we call? A lot of times people are reaching out to the bigger cities to bring in clinicians to do debriefings. What I'm learning and what I've learned from our model and from our LCSW is that we really don't need those clinicians. We just need to link our peer teams together so that a peer can go over and do that debriefing quickly, and we understand each other. I think that is also a really powerful part of what we're growing up here in the mountains, is linking these teams together and supporting each other, also utilizing this app to do that. So that's been a huge success and growing, but it's been a huge success so far with that. I'm trying to, and I think, Nick, you're going to go into a little bit more of the specifics of the app. We've used a couple different versions. We've used breaking up the agencies into different structures. We're playing around with putting everybody in one big structure, what's positive, what's negative on each side. And these guys have been awesome with working with me on that. So we're still trying to kind of develop that and see what would work better for us on that front. But I'm also curious to hear what other people are doing out there. I'm sure I just said way too much or too little, but I'm happy. I honestly, Nick and Camden, I apologize, but I'm super jazzed to hear questions or how other people are doing it. I'm sure we could learn from that as well. But I love this room. I love this room already. I'm excited.
Excellent. Yeah. So I guess we could maybe start, and we'll collect some questions and things, but if anyone feels comfortable sharing, maybe we'll lean on more do you work in a larger countywide or regional team? And maybe if someone wants to share, take a minute and share, what does that look like? Like Marnie gave the example of if someone, something significant happens in one department and they don't have the resource, nor should they probably have the resources to deal with it internally because it's affecting them. Have you had situations, or are you equipped within your area to handle that? Or maybe there is an example that you could give for that. It's putting people on the spot a little bit, but we have a lot of experts in here, so I think someone can share something.
Crickets.
Go ahead, Phil.
I'm just laughing because it's crickets. You're hearing crickets chirping.
I
Anyway,
can talk to it too, Phil, if you don't, but I'll fill the
well,
cricket space.
I'm a licensed independent clinical social worker, mostly retired, um, and I volunteer for the Arrowhead Emergency Management Program in northeastern Minnesota. It covers multiple counties, and our team members are all trained. We're all volunteers, and we have represent a multitude of different professions, whether it's law enforcement, firefighters, people from our Department of Natural Resources, um, and people that are in the medical field, ambulance personnel. And we volunteer to provide debriefings, defusings, that kind of thing, grief processing for agencies within our catchment area. We usually use a mental health professional and a minimum of 2 to 3 peers within that context. The peers run the meeting. The mental health professional is there to provide support and education on coping techniques and that kind of thing. That's it.
No, thanks, Phil. That's great. Um, so yeah, you have some experience in a larger. I'm familiar with your area, so larger semi-rural or remote at times area. So getting people together across large geographic spaces, I know can be a challenge. So good to have
It's
that.
Yeah, it's not unusual for me to drive 120 miles one way to go to a debriefing.
Great. Anyone else want to share kind of what their scenario or setup is, or successes or challenges that you're facing in that?
I can speak. Let me see if I can get my video on. I'm Lieutenant Catalano. I'm with the Sheriff's Office out here in Santa Clara County in California. And we have a pretty robust team within our agency of about 1,700 members in our agency, with a peer support team that has individuals from our professional staff, our custody division staff, and then our enforcement bureau staff. And so we've compiled our team to have all three of those um, individual representations for our team within our own organization. But then at the county, we also have Dr. Tammy McCoy, who is a clinician. And so several agencies within Santa Clara County have peer support teams. So collectively, we meet once a month online in this type of platform to kind of, one, have a training opportunity or an exposure maybe to some resources that are available for us to utilize, like with our own agency, that maybe somebody else on a different peer support team has learned about. And then it's also a platform for people to talk to each other or bring up kind of what's happened recently, maybe within their own agencies, so we can all kind of share about like lessons learned or things we're implementing that are new and that are working. And then separately from that, Dr. Tammy McCoy, which I mentioned, who's for the whole county, has implemented a process for a mass violence response. So that way, if we do have active shooter incident, things like that, then we have a collective plan for all of the agencies with peer support teams that have agreed to participate in that, if that should arise, where we would all be responding to that from different peer support teams to offer our services. And then we do like CISMs, so the incident stress, essentially debriefs when we have, identified incidents that have occurred that need that support. And similar to what I think it was Philip was saying, we do usually 2 to 3 peer supporters, and then we have a clinician. There's been recently, like for us, concerns about making sure that all of the discussions within those spaces can never go to court for any purposes. So for us, it's important to have the presence of the clinician. And then we also have a chaplain program and a chaplain who's with us on a regular basis at our agency. And so they're also there and standing by outside of those CISMs when we have those, in case somebody needs to step out and wants to connect with them. So like recently, we also onboarded like O2X, which is a company where they embed an individual like in our agency who helps with like mental performance. And we're just starting to develop like a contract to have 2 therapists on site, like through our EAP program, to also offer like 30-minute well-being checks. So I think our agency is trying to do a lot of things internally to help support more proactive initiatives for peer support, but then collaboratively, we're meeting with all the peer support teams in our county on a regular basis. And then again, for those mass violence incidents, we have a plan in place where we would support each other. But we don't typically provide peer support to other agencies for those smaller type incidents. So I am interested in hearing how you guys are help supporting like your neighboring agencies for those of you guys that do that. So thank you.
Thank you very much for that breakdown. And I don't know, Marnie, if you want to kind of add some comments or thoughts to that, but I guess one of the things along the lines is like what's the communication look like? And you mentioned before your phone number being the primary hub through which everything had to go. I'll show, I think maybe after you comment, I'll show a little bit of what PeerConnect looks like for those that aren't familiar and how we can do that. But what does it look like for an individual to reach out now in your new setup? Like, what are their options, or what would it look like?
So a couple things. One, within I created a team that's just High Country Peer Support Coalition. So within that team, these are established peer support teams. We have MOUs with them. They are overseen by their own clinician, their advisor. Routt County has an advisor. Eagle County has an advisor. We have MOUs, so if Eagle County needs to reach out to get some support, they will contact us, and we'll deploy a team that has an MOU in place that can go support that team. Within Routt County, they're all overseen under our clinician, if you will. And Grand County will be the same. Moffat County will be the same on that. And then Nick, I'm sorry, you asked me how that works within Routt County. Is that?
Yeah, like maybe talk about an individual first responder. Maybe you don't want them calling your phone directly anymore. Like how does no?
Right. So right now within Routt County, what I love about the app is that they don't have to call my number. It's shocking that people might not like to talk to me. I know that's hard to believe. You've known me for 20 minutes. But that is the case sometimes. So they can go through the app and just hit a button that says, I need support. The other thing I love about that is that our team is up there, so they can pick and choose who they want to reach out to them offline, which I also find is very cool. One of the things that I also like is that they can recommend support for somebody. So if I'm worried about a buddy of mine that I work with, I can get on the app and say, hey, can a peer support person reach out to Joe? I'm a little bit worried about him. That's confidential. They don't know that I've done that. I love those two pieces. through, I love, I just dropped a swear word. Sorry, that was number one. You can put that in the swear jar. But I do appreciate those two things immensely. And I think as the coordinator of the High Country, I think having this app and having people be able to communicate through the app or reach out to help through the app, I think is been really helpful for me as we are growing. I think that's huge. The other thing you can do within the app, and I know, Nick, you'll talk about this, is if there is a critical incident, I'm aware of it, and we can batch the first responders that were on scene to get them some support, whether it is a diffusing, debriefing, clinical support, spiritual support, whatever. So that just makes it easier for me as the coordinator to be able to have that like right at the tip of my fingers. So yeah, things fall out of my head pretty quickly, but I think I tackled that. That's how we roll.
Actually, I'll take this a moment here. I'm just going to share my screen, and we do things relatively informally at times around here. So I'm going to show what we've got here. If you can see my screen, it looks a little bit messy, but that's because I'm logged into a demo account of PeerConnect right now with two different fake people. So the one with kind of the black border is Kim Smith, and she's not real, but she would be like a Marnie Smith in terms of having being a coordinator, kind of being someone with most of the permissions and access to the system and running peer teams. On this side here, I think this fellow's name is Dave Adams. But anyways, this is what he would see either on his phone or on the computer, whatever he's accessing. And really, I'm not going to go through the whole system, but what I want to show is that if Dave, for example, wants to connect with someone, you're saying, well, is this a group me? Is this like, what is this? Almost think of this as like a request management or a ticketing system almost or dispatch system for peer support connections. So if you look at Dave on the left here, he's in a scenario somewhat similar to how Marnie and other groups are, but this is a person who has access to two different peer support teams, or even better, one is actually a chaplain's team and one is a peer support team. So whether a group is working across multiple agencies, or sometimes some of our client agencies, large or small, they might have two or three different support teams. I know at least a couple of our groups have actually a physical health support team. And so that's a different team, and they have their peer team, and maybe they've separated the chaplains as well. So an individual can request a connection from either just the peer support team or from the chaplain's team, or maybe the external or countywide peer support team, which is kind of more in the case of Routt County. So this is what it looks like for an individual. If I wanted to request a connection from the chaplains that are available to me, I can just push this button. Now, let's say, maybe it's a multi-faith, interfaith chaplaincy team, or it's a peer support team. And as Marnie alluded to, maybe I don't get along with all 20 of the peer supports that are available to me. Or maybe I get along with them, but they're just not the best fit for me personally. What each individual can do, if I go here and view my team, that's going to show me the peer supports that would receive a notification or would get a heads up that I'm looking for a connection. So I can edit this team, and if there's anyone that I'm not comfortable with, I can remove them from the team. Now, obviously, this does not notify them. This does not tell anyone. The team is private for each individual. Not even the admins or coordinators or anyone can see who's on anyone else's team. But this just ensures that when I do go back here and say, hey, you know what? I could use a chat from a chaplain, that is going to notify just the people that I'm cool with. They'll get a notification on their phone, like I just got on my demo account here. And then they will, it says pending connection. And then that person will be able to be responded to by one of the peer supports. So if you see, I've switched over here to Kim's side. She is on that team, that chaplain's team, and we have a request coming in from Dave, requested a few seconds ago. So I know, as Kim, I know that Dave's comfortable with me, and I can say, you know what, I'm in a good place as a peer support, because we don't want to overburden or overwhelm our peer supports either. We want to give some autonomy back. I love the example, I will use it now, of the phone number on the bathroom stall, because that's kind of what it is in a lot of agencies, where you have a list of names and numbers on the bulletin board, on the intranet, hey, I'm a peer, here's your peer support team, call us anytime. But even as a peer, I'm still a human. I still have to work. So maybe I'm not available. Maybe I had a really rough day myself. I don't have to take this connection. But Kim over here says, no, I'm in a good spot. I can take it. So if she commits to it, it's going to go away for the other folks that may have been notified. And if they go to check it later, or even 10 seconds later after she commits, it's going to be gone for them. They won't see who took it. They won't see anything. But now I have committed to it. I've basically taken that request or that ticket and said, I'll be the one to do this. So for coordinators, what we hear, the feedback and kind of by design that we working with all these groups is this really reduces the amount of communication, phone tag. Hey, Joe, did you follow up? Did you ever talk to that person? It's all kind of managed here. And then for the Marnies of the world in the back end, you have some reports or some dashboards to at least make sure no one's dropping the ball. And if I have committed to this but not talked to the person, and 2 days have gone by, then you get a little notification or different timers that we have. So that's kind of the loop. So we're not a chat app, and that's on purpose. We don't want the conversations themselves to be in this system. So you'll see once I've committed to it, I now get Dave's connection form or contact form. I see how he wants to be connected with. Let's say I do talk to him. Now I can fill out a connection form. So these forms are customizable. Each group can kind of change what they want on there. But as you can see, I'll just kind of flip through here quickly. These are some common prompts or inputs on the form that a lot of our groups have. I can set a follow-up. So if I want to talk to this person a week later, I can just go like this, and that is going to send me a reminder to follow up with them a week later. I don't have to worry about forgetting about that. But I've talked to the person as a peer support. I do this connection form. Once I hit submit, that strips their name from the form. You can't reattach it to find out what that conversation topic or, particulars were about. But now it's good. It's done. And then for Marnie, for coordinators, they get kind of a dashboard that shows not who met with whom and what they talked about, just last month we had this many connections. Here's the main reasons why, that kind of thing. So whether you're using PeerConnect, and as you can see, we can go through a lot of other things, but that's the core of it. Whether you're using it within your own department or in a multiple department or regional or countywide scenario, that's kind of the loop of what happens. Now, people like if you are a recommender, you can recommend someone for a connection. So if I'm looking at two of my demo groups here and I say, Dave Adams, I want someone to check in on him. So this is kind of what Marnie's talking about with the, if you just know, hey, this person needs a check-in, I can recommend Dave for a check-in. I can choose if he has more than one team, which team I'd like to check in. So if it is a chaplain, for example, I'm talking to him and say, hey, I think you should have a chat with one of our chaplains. I can just go in here and recommend him to the chaplain group. And so and all these are configurable, of course, but very easy and kind of process oriented to make sure that people get connected with at the right time. Now I've recommended, and now I don't know who met with the person. I just know that I've initiated that process and the team is going to take over from there in kind of a managed, efficient way. So that's a bit of a loop in terms of requesting support, recommending people for support. Obviously, there's a lot more to this, but I just kind of want to show you folks quickly what that looks like, kind of get your ideas going. I also do have this slide here that I can show just quickly. These are some examples of the different ways that we're working, and this is not exhaustive, but a few of the different scenarios that we have of working with different groups in a larger setting or more than one department setting. So we've got Routt County and another group in Colorado that are kind of doing it this way, where Marnie's overseeing as the clinical facilitating group, overseeing multiple departments, multiple peer supports, and managing everything through that. Another interesting scenario that's been happening in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, primarily with law enforcement, and then in Washington State, primarily with fire departments there, is it's grown kind of more organically or more just one department at a time joining a group. So for example, if I am a firefighter at Seattle or Snohomish or Tacoma, some of our fire departments there, I actually have two buttons. One is for my internal peer team to request support, and the other is for what they're calling kind of the homegrown statewide peer team, where they've asked their peer support team members, hey, would you let your name stand to support people from other departments? So as an individual, I have the option, and I can curate members from each team as well. So there are a lot of different models and different ways that groups are using this. As Marnie suggested, we're still figuring things out or making some changes as it grows, as somehow you just keep adding more people and groups to it, that we keep modifying and making sure it works. But there are a lot of options there, from an individual department of any shape or size using PeerConnect to multiple groups working together. So I just wanted to make that kind of maybe more obvious, or maybe less obvious if I did a bad job explaining it, but you can ask me questions if I did.
I think, Nick, one more thing, I think, just to add to what you said, and I know I'm not supposed to probably do this, but I think one of the things, those of you who know who have a peer support team, again, with momentum and keeping peers engaged and whatnot, this app, it was fascinating when we launched it. Somebody used it pretty quickly, and in a matter of seconds, we had peer team members accepting that ticket. And I think for us, it was just so cool. It was so cool to see that, because we had no part of it. I say we, meaning my partner Molly, but we had no part in it. The peer team was more engaged, and I think that was also part of the problems that we were seeing early on. So this app really made it easy for them to accept those tickets, which I also appreciate. So.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Well, we do want to give some time if there are any more questions, or maybe if there's a scenario you've run into and you say, hey, that wouldn't have worked for that, or that maybe would work for that. Tell me more. I know kind of on the spot, sometimes it can be hard to think of those, but we'll just give a minute or two here for any other thoughts or questions. Is anyone, actually, I think in the chat we did have some. We have Leon Valley Police Department. Thanks for checking in there. Just getting a peer team started within the department. So that's pretty exciting. And obviously you have a wealth of resources in this room with different folks that run peer teams, or with us with the PeerConnect system. So just let us know if you have any any thoughts on that. Carolina, I hope I'm pronouncing that, Carolina. Do you pay for the program once, or is it an annual fee? It's generally an annual, like it's a software as a service annual fee. And we try and scale it. We try and make it very fair for a group of 24 volunteer firefighters, all the way up to a group with 2,000 law enforcement personnel. So it does scale kind of nicely based on the size of the organization. One of the things that that kind of became apparent early is that and with other apps or just other ways of doing things, is you are not going to get 100% of the people that work with or for you to download a wellness app. You just aren't, unless you offer, unless you make it mandatory, which some of our groups do. But in terms of voluntary, you probably just won't get that. What PeerConnect does is, when we launch with a group, let's say, I'll pick on Jared. Jared from South Carolina, I think you've got about 300 staff or so. The system, when we launch with a group, everyone is added. Everyone receives on launch day, or a day or two before, receives an invite email saying, hey, this is what we're using. You've been added to this. Activate your account. Now, if I don't activate my account, if I'm a grizzled vet who's like, I would never download, I don't need this thing, that's okay. I don't have to download or activate the account. But right from day one, all 300 staff are in the system, so that if I do attend a potentially traumatic event, or I am put on one of our proactive timers of 6-month check-ins or 1-year check-ins or whatever, I might just get a friendly phone call or go for coffee with a peer support. I may not even know that our organization is using PeerConnect, or that PeerConnect is the platform that prompted that engagement, if that makes sense. So we are, on purpose, we're trying to be, and we are less reliant on a high, push, everyone download rate, and more so right from day one, we want the whole organization and their family members to benefit from just having this tool that helps to promote these engagements based on different flags and triggers and events and things like that. So we've taken that kind of angle, if you will. because it can be hard. We want good activation rates. There's a news feed, there's resources, there's a lot of good stuff in the system. But at its core, even if someone never interacts with it, they might just get a friendly check-in every so often because you're just part of the team and a good culture there, if that makes sense. Okay, so if you are an existing client, thanks for joining. If you are someone that's just interested in learning more about different peer team scenarios and setups, also thank you for joining. And if you do want to learn more about PeerConnect for your own agency, in the follow-up email that Dana and the team will send, we'll have probably a link to this recording. We'll have some additional documentation and then a link to book a demo meeting with one of us. And then we can focus obviously more on exactly how you're set up or want to be set up and what this would look like for you in terms of the configuration, the price, all that good stuff. So that'll be in the follow-up for everyone that attended. And thank you again, Marnie. I don't know if you have any closing thoughts. Super appreciate you doing this for us and even the work you do in stretching the system to make sure that we've got, I think, monthly releases now of just new features and new ways with all the groups using it. So it's been really exciting.
Yeah, thanks, Nick, for working with us. I added my email in there, and if anybody needs
Awesome.
thoughts, questions, I would love to learn from them too. So, but I appreciate you, Nick, letting me be a part of this. This is pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, with your permission, we'll throw that in the follow-up email as well. So you might get some folks, maybe take them skiing one day and teach them how you do the peer support out there. Excellent. All right. Well, thanks so much, everyone. We'll look forward to seeing you next time, but look for that follow-up email soon. And that's a wrap. Have a good day, everyone.